So I'm so excited to have you here, Corey, the author of Breaking Free, a saga of self-discovery by a gay Secret Service agent. We really don't hear from Secret Service agents, let alone a gay one. So it is awesome to be here with you today.
Thank you so much for having me on and allowing the opportunity for my story to be told and hopefully reach the audience that needs to hear it.
Well, so let's go ahead and dive straight in. What sort of inspired you to go into that work and into that field of protecting people?
Early on in my life, I had a lot of interactions with law enforcement. There was domestic violence in our home from about the age of 9 to 19, where mom's live-in boyfriend, who was very abusive towards her. And so when your mom is screaming your name for help to call 911 in these violent episodes, that leaves a definite imprint on an adolescent mind. Then a couple of years later, I applied to that very same police agency that I used to call on for help. So then I ended up working kind of role reversal, where I was now the police officer responding to domestic violence episodes and helping the victims and the children through these awful incidents. And that's kind of how here we are 13 years later.
Wow. So, in other words, you as a child really saw firsthand the value of what it meant to be protected. And in turn, that's what inspired you.
Yeah, and it wasn't until much later in life that I kind of started to see the full circle that may have very well led me into this, unbeknownst to myself. It just kind of transpired that way.
I'm wondering, in your book, you talk a little bit about this, but that one moment that we see the president walk by, you are actually preparing for that one moment for months. Tell me a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people would be shocked to actually know how much work goes into maybe one glimpse of a very important person that's being protected.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's for something like when the Pope came to town in 2015, an intense amount of stress and pressure that goes into it. And sure enough, as you described, the Pope comes in, months of planning. He's in my zone for maybe 2 minutes, drives by. There's a couple pictures out there with the Pope in the background. He makes a left turn, and then he's out of my zone. And so that was it.
In the book you described, there is no room for failure at all. And so I'm just wondering, you're spending months of playing 20-hour days, and the Pope rolls by or drives by. What's the moment like after when you kind of take that deep breath? Is it sort of like, okay, we're all going out for drinks and it's going to be a total vacation now for the next 2 weeks? Or is it like it's on to the next mission?
It's both. So it's sheer elation. They get out of your zone and you're like, thank heavens, I did my job. Nothing happened. And whether it was Obama landing in Miami when I was the airport agent, when he was president, or it's the Pope or Trump's inauguration, like when they get out of your area of responsibility, it is just a great sigh of relief, but it's also intoxicating because that's what this job was all about. This is why we do it. So it's an insane amount of stress and pressure, but also to know you succeeded. It's hard to describe the feelings that come with that. But then living and working in DC, it was right on to the next big event because there was always another big event in queue. And so you didn't really get much time to relax. You take a deep breath, you take the rest of the day off if you're lucky, to then start preparing for the next one.
Some of the viewers might be really interested to know what it was like kind of living this double life as a gay Secret Service agent and having two separate identities.
Yeah, it was my two separate lives rarely intersected. It occurred maybe 3 times, like when I met Anderson Cooper, Leslie Jordan, or being in P-Town with Cher and Hillary. But then when I was assigned to the Obamas, we did a European swing. So we were in Paris, then we jumped over to Madrid. And the Obamas, they left Madrid, and a group of us were left behind because we were then flying home from there. And the Obamas went on to another country. That night or early morning, ended up going to a bathhouse. And in Europe, bathhouses are part of the cultural norm. There's no shame, there's no stigma. It's just normal there. And I figured, when is the next time I'm going to be in Madrid surrounded by beautiful men during Pride? So we got in line, went to the bathhouse, had a great time. I came out and the sun was up.
Oh,
And I
wow.
had to, like, we were heading back to the airport at 9 a.m. And so I walked back to the hotel, and I think it's about 8 a.m. My colleagues are all eating breakfast. They see me walk in. Very clearly, I had not been back all night. They all give me the side eye, and I'm like, give me an hour. I'll be right back. So I run up, shower, change, and come back down with my luggage because our shuttle was heading back to the airport to fly us back to the United States. And to this day, it's the best Pride experience I've ever had, hands down.
I think I probably would have fallen off my chair if I was in a bathhouse and the person next to me was like, "Oh, I'm in the Secret Service." I'm like, I'm protecting the Obamas. But I'm guessing you don't tell people that. What's your line? Is it sort of like, "Oh, I work in a bakery. I'm visiting."
Yeah, it just depended on the situation. Yes, of course. Nobody ever knew who I was, or I mean, beyond my first name of what my role was, because national security implications. You can't have strangers in your hotel room. The stuff like there's policies in place to protect national security. So nobody ever knew, and I would just come up with some kind of backstory. And now I can use author when I travel.
It's important to remember this was years ago when you were starting your career in the Secret Service, and the climate around being out at work was really different. Were there moments when you experienced discrimination?
Oh, absolutely. I was naive enough to think that going federal, I would have all these protections and I would not be discriminated against. I could be my true self. And unfortunately was not the case. I was on probation for about 3.5 years when I first got hired. And so I got to Miami, and it was within a few months that I was relocated to the Miami International Airport. We had a couple of agents that were based out at the airport. And this is away from the main office, away from my peers, my classmates. And I had suspected that discrimination might be at play, but there was nothing I could do. I was supporting my then husband, who we moved. He didn't have a job yet. And so it wasn't until a year or so later that I found out that the big supervisor in the office told a group of people, "I don't want that F in my office." And that's why I was sent to the airport squad.
So basically what had happened was you were kind of taken away from the traditional path that the rest of your classmates were going on, wondering why, and come to find out it was because you were gay.
Correct.
And Cory, in the book, you talk about what it meant to actually have this long storied career in the Secret Service and then decide to leave. And I'm wondering, is there a moment that you think kind of sums everything up in terms of what it was like to be in the Secret Service, what it was like to protect the Obamas, what it was like to feel proud of your contribution to protect these people? Was there one moment that you feel like kind of says everything about it?
Yeah. And oddly enough, it was my last trip with the Secret Service. We went out to LA for the Grammys in 2019. And I was assigned to Michelle. And so we're backstage with it's the Grammys. It is music's biggest icons: Ricky Martin, Lady Gaga, BTS, Dolly Parton. All these people are like next to me. And this is stuff that dreams are made of. And here I am backstage with all these people. And so as, I was stage left as Michelle Obama, Jada Pinkett Smith, and a couple of others that walk out on to kick off the Grammy Awards. Michelle walks out and the crowd absolutely loses it. The applause lasts far longer for Michelle than it did for any of the others on stage. And it was one of those pinch me historical moments that I got to witness firsthand from a driver's seat or passenger seat, whatever you want to call it. And I got actual goosebumps to see her come out of office, to transcend from being this amazing first lady to now this A-list celebrity who is having so much impact across the country for so many people. And to be able to witness that firsthand and have that being my final trip with the Secret Service was, I couldn't have asked for better closure.
I know when I think of Secret Service agents, they're like very buttoned up and serious. Were you in that? I actually remember this moment at the Grammys. Did you break a smile?
Yeah, I couldn't help.
Wow.
Um, and no, I wasn't on camera. I was stage left, but I couldn't help, and I get actual goosebumps that like I got to see all this happen, and it was just amazing. And that occurred a couple of other times, like Beyonce and Jay-Z in Paris, and I'm at the stage, and I talked with Jay-Z afterwards, like, "Is this real? Like this is
Wow.
happening?" Unbelievable stuff like that. It was like this has been an amazing journey.
The book is out now and it's been out for a while. What do you think has been the impact since the book has come out? What have you noticed?
I've had people come out to me during book reading events. Store employee came out during the book reading, and it turned into this beautiful, intimate conversation. And then last week, I had a Navy mom send me a DM on Insta that her son is able to live his life out and proud as a naval officer because I had the courage to share my story. It's hard to fathom that something that I wrote is having this kind of impact. It's fantastic.
Well, the book is just so interesting and such a never before seen glimmer into a life of a kind of person that, we really don't get to see that often. So thank you for being so open and vulnerable in the book. And folks can get the book. Tell us where folks can find you and where folks can buy the book too.
Yeah. All my social media is linked through CoryAllenBooks.com. You can order it through any bookstore. It's probably in 36 bookstores around the country. It's on Amazon. But I'd also love to get into a movie. So if there's any interest there, please let me know.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Cory. It was great to chat with you.
Thank you, Jordan. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for watching. If you want to see more from us at Queerty, don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button.